of talk has been had about the potential controls that could have been on this track and on this train that could have prevented this horrific derailment. But I saw you on last night with Lawrence O'Donnell talking about cab signals that should have been in this train, that every train should have in place, that the engineer, you said, must have overridden. Talk about those signals and what they do.
The signals that I was talking about last night are actually called cab signals. They're signals on the inside of the locomotive that tell the engineer various information about what's happening on the track. The one I was talking about in particular would be a transponder that is located before you get to this curve, and that transponder would simply tell the locomotive that you need some action now before you enter this curve. The engineer would be given a 5 or 6 second period of time within which to respond to that signal. If there is no response, the train would give what it calls a penalty application, and the brakes would then be put on full service and bring the train to a stop. Now, I can't imagine that they did not have these transponders on this track. I know for this corridor, they use cab signal technology. I know that they use transponders to provide cab signals to the train crews. What we don't know is the exact location, if there even was one, before this curve. If there wasn't a cab signal transponder there, that would be even more egregious, because this is technology that has existed since the 1920s.
Wow.
So given your analysis there, how does that play into whether this was more likely a human or mechanical error?
Yeah, there is no question in my mind that there is a human error involved in this scenario. The problem is, it is almost assuredly set up to fail if you don't have some form of backup in your safety systems for public safety that make sure that humans can behave as humans. We can't rely on one human to behave perfectly all day, every day, and call that our system safety.
Governor,
that just won't work.
Governor, in our democracy, we share wealth in that all the states pay in as much as they can, and they get what they need. So some states get more than they pay in, some states get less. And this seems to be a situation where the Northeast Corridor states are getting the raw end of the deal, that they need infrastructure repairs on this Amtrak business that does 1/3 of Amtrak's business, but is forced to subsidize the entire rest of Amtrak's line. Is this a situation where the folks who represent this Northeast Corridor area need to stand up and say, hey, guys, we need more in this situation?
Well, there's a bill going into the Congress that's going to allow Amtrak to keep its profits. Right now, its profits are disseminated throughout the entire system, so some of them go to rail lines in Mississippi. That will help a little bit. But look, the problem is not just Amtrak's, it's the country's problem. It's the country's problem. We don't invest anymore. We haven't had a real infrastructure development plan since Dwight David Eisenhower did the interstate highway system. We need to sit down and we need to do it. It's going to involve a little pain. It's going to be hard, but we need to do it, and we better start doing it, because we're going to hell in a handbasket. I'd like to ask our other guest a question. This morning, someone on our Morning Joe show suggested that we might put 2 people in a cabin, an engineer and a co-engineer. Is that practical? Would that have helped in a situation like this?
Robert?
Absolutely. In fact, that is the oldest form of fail-safe. Every freight railroad in the United States runs with 2 people in the cab. These guys have sometimes to get up and go to the restroom. Right. Sometimes they have to look at something else or paperwork. If you put 2 sets of eyes in the cab, you've got a fail-safe system built in. It is so cheap. It is so obvious that prevents accidents.
Governor Rendell, our 5th cyclist today, thank you so much for being here. And Robert Pottroff, thank you as well.
Thank you.
And today, sadly, we're learning more about the